Hello sports fans, it's lovely weather to play some business ball. Defenders charge with a lion's intensity to smash quarterbacks with a force that echoes through the gladiatorial gridiron. The iconic sound of a baseball bat smashing a fastball out of the park remains an American staple. Powerful dunks smash a rim and backboard that nearly succumbs to pro basketball players' awesome athleticism. Hockey sticks smash the puck with impossible precision towards the goal. We all know these smashing sounds of football, basketball, baseball, and hockey by heart. Most aren't quite as familiar with how all four professional leagues of these beloved sports smash your wildest financial dreams with huge revenue streams. Today's video compares the financial value between the National Hockey Association, National Basketball Association, Major League Baseball, and National Hockey League. Before we start that, I got a fifth thing related to smashing. Consider smashing the like and subscribe buttons to help me grow and you never miss another video. You may not be a pro athlete, but you'd be an all-star to me. Let's play the finance game. As you'll see, there's big money in the big four sports leagues. Number 4, NHL. Average team value, $653 million. When it comes to discussing sports profitability, the NHL breaks the ice literally and figuratively. Out of the 4 major league franchises in the United States, the National Hockey League ranks 4th. For the 2017-18 season, the reported earnings of the NHL franchise were $4.42 billion, and for the 2018-19 season, the reported earnings were $5.09 billion, from when NBC and NBC Sports Net added $2 billion per season. Although owing to overhead expenses, the profits made by the franchise were only around $25 million. When compared to the other 3 American sports franchises, the NHL ranks 4th in terms of earnings. The NHL draws talent from all over the world, and it is bigger than the North American continent from which the league originated. While hockey may not have the largest fan base in the country, they do have devotedly loyal supporters of the game who have been following the sport from many previous seasons. According to Forbes, the NHL is generating more revenues than ever in each season and is expected to grow in the next decade. Number 3, MLB. Average 2020 team value, $1.85 billion. One may think baseball got hit very hard in revenue, given how mighty of a struggle recently bargaining agreements were between owners and players. They'd be somewhat right. The MLB claimed teams lost a combined $3.1 billion in 2020 due to revenue restrictions directly and indirectly caused by COVID-19. That shakes out to about $100 million per team. That said, MLB franchises still have massive valuations, so a $100 million loss in a given year might be more than made up in appreciation of the asset. Additionally, as of 2018, the average MLB franchise's value was $1.65 billion. We've seen the players of those franchises obtain record amounts of money recently, with Fernando Tatis signing the longest deal in history at 14 years, $340 million for the comparably small market the San Diego Padres represent. Mike Trout inked the largest contract in professional sports history in 2019 at $426.5 million, since passed by Patrick Mahomes. The actual game style supplements the financial game. We've seen throughout baseball's peak in ratings and popularity during the steroid era of the late 90s, through the first half of the 2000s, that home runs are the way to casual fans' hearts. Today's game predicates itself on achieving the right exit velocity, the speed the ball leaves the bat at, and the optimal launch angle to hit a home run. As a result, record amounts of home runs have been hit in recent years, and an astrophysicist determined in an athletic article that the balls have been juiced in the recent past. Despite opposition from baseball pursuits, new commissioner Rob Manfred attempts to solve the problem of baseball being perceived as too slow, with several rule changes. These dynamics should make for a game many younger and casual fans consider more exciting, leading to increased profits, whether purists like it or not. MLB profits stand to rise even higher if the league gets better at marketing its players. Number 2, NBA. Average 2020 team value, $2.4 billion. That's certainly not a problem with the NBA. as it is one of the most popular and fastest growing leagues in the sports world. In the 2017-18 season, the reported earnings of the NBA franchise were $7.4 billion. But the NBA is much more than that. For one, it enjoys the most international popularity of 800 million global fans in both the preseason and the regular season, making it the most global American sporting league in terms of impact. In 2019, FanCode signed a deal with the National Basketball Association, NBA, one of the world's most premium sports brands, to livestream NBA games in India. It has also helped to spread awareness about the game in a bid to increase basketball's popularity in India. With the focus on stars, the bonus of a Chinese market and a steadily rising Asian market, and a rising number of sponsors and TV channels increasingly partnering with franchises, it's no wonder that around $500 million was solely from international media revenue. In 2019, it was estimated that an NBA franchise was worth $1 billion and an average NBA team was worth $1.89 billion. Teams that do well consistently over time are often valued higher. In fact, NBA franchises are valued up 6 times as much as the previous decade. Despite the pandemic dunking on 2020 revenue streams everywhere, the NBA scored a decent year. NBA franchise values continue to rise as high as LeBron James's 40-plus inch vertical. Franchise values increased 14% in the past year to an average of $2.12 billion per team. These numbers compare quite favorably to its main American rivals, the NBA and NHL. Compare the NBA's 14% increase with an 11% annual increase for NFL teams and 8% in Major League Baseball, with average values of $2.86 billion and $1.78 billion respectively. The trend looks to continue. As NBA players stretch their range beyond the three-point line, business analysts predict that the league will stretch to the top 3 sports franchises in the world in the coming decade. In particular, I feel Steve Curry's impactful success gives young professionals an obtainable inspiration, not someone whose game depends not on freak genetics and athleticism, rather a great shooter that one theoretically could become with hard work and practice. The NBA also does a terrific job embracing and promoting the individual personalities of other superstars around the league, setting up players for the chance to have powerful voices in the community, and crossover appeal, i.e. LeBron's many humanitarian and entertainment endeavors, Damian Lillard's rapping, Giannis's background, Chris Paul's State Farm commercials and charity work all serve as a few of many great examples of NBA being a fun league. And number 1, NFL. Average 2020 team value $3.04 billion. On the other hand, detractors brand the NFL the no-fun league. The NFL may not make a lot of smiles, but when it comes to making money, like its players, the NFL smashes the competition. It is the most profitable franchise among all the franchises in the United States, and is also the most profitable in the whole world, besting football's English Premier League with annual revenue of $15.26 billion in 2019. Obviously, the pandemic limiting crowds destroys livegate and merchandise food sales, with revenues expected to increase by billions every year in the future. Even now, we've seen that number grow from $13.68 just 2 years ago. Although the NFL doesn't enjoy comparably great international appeal and has a youth enrollment problem stemming from parents becoming increasingly concerned over the physical sport's safety in light of new concussion info, football maintains an almost religious home following amongst adults. Baseball brands itself as an American pastime of history, but it's undeniable that most people nowadays prefer long passes to long ball home runs. As the old baseball saying goes, chicks dig the long ball. A growing amount digs fantasy football. Fantasy is already a game of choice for many dudes, of course. The NFL has long-term contracts with major broadcasting TV networks like ESPN, NBC, Fox, and many more. A playoff game between the Saints and Bears even aired on Nickelodeon during this year's playoffs. The NFL's broadcasting empire stretches further than Squidward's tentacles. Of the 100 top broadcasts in 2019, 88 were sporting events and 73 were NFL games. The NFL's current US TV rights approach $7 billion per year on average, That number projects to nearly double in a new deal currently being hashed out, according to sports media consultant Lee Burke of LHB Sports. To help afford it, Fox even backed out of a 12-year deal to broadcast golf's US Open, with the savings expected to help bankroll a potential $2 billion a year NFL deal. For each team participating in the NFL franchises, their profits are just over $1 million each. Super Bowl accounts for a substantial part of the NFL's revenue as well, at least $1 billion per season. Within the United States, the NFL attracts many sponsors and investors, increasing its valuation. Truly the most profitable franchise of them all, we can expect the NFL to be at the peak of the money mountain for years to come. The game ties directly into that with an exciting, hyper-pass style that constantly creates new stars and anticipation. Generational loyalty creates brand insistence for every team, regardless of success. Fantasy football creates a lucrative, popular game within the game, especially for those without a team or even an interest in the game. An estimated 60 million people play every year, and fantasy football carries an estimated value between $7 and as high as $18.6 billion. Those are the order of the top American sports leagues. You may wonder what the top valued sports teams are within them. The top answer? How about them Cowboys? America's team epitomizes its country's capitalism at a value of $5.5 billion, according to Forbes' latest list published in July. Football fans know Jerry Jones loves showmanship, and although Cowboy fans haven't seen a Super Bowl this century, they've seen plenty of spectacles, nowadays held in AT&T Stadium, typically called Jerry World. Beyond professional football, the stadium even hosted the largest American professional wrestling event, with over 100,000 people at WrestleMania 32. The New York Yankees bat second at a value of $5 billion. The biggest team of the Big Apple holding that spot comes at no surprise, given baseball's insane spending and the Yankees' 27 World Series rings in such a historic large market. The Knicks stand behind their same city but much different success-leveled brothers at $4.6 billion. The much more successful Lakers lead LA teams in fourth place at a value of $4.4 billion. The Warriors are used to raining threes on their opponents, but they can also make it rain with cash, rounding out the top 5 most valued sports teams at $4.3 billion. That's a lot of money and information. Hopefully you also obtained a lot of joy watching our breakdown of the big business of the Big Four. If so, do us a favor by clicking the like button and subscribing for future content. Thank you so much for watching. Keep on learning daily, and remember, as Warren Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn.